What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Martian and Ozzy podcast. I am the Martian, joined by my co-host, as always, Ozzy, talking about the last UFC card of the year going down this Saturday, December 17th, from the UFC Apex 14 fights, headlined by Jared Cannonier versus Sean Strickland. And nice to have Ozzy back after last week. How we doing this week, my man?
Great. Got over some bad technical difficulties and runarounds, but I'm back, like you said. Tough, tough card last week. Shenanigans obviously went on overall. Closing out with a card that has a lot of competitive matchups. I feel a lot of noteworthy names. I feel like last week's card could have probably used, maybe a matchup or two to swap with this week's. Consistent action, early start time, and hopefully they carry on from like the finishes that we saw last week, carry it over to this week.
Yeah. Shenanigans last week. What shenanigans are you referring to there?
Hey man, the thing that I saw is just like obviously the Jared Gordon versus zone. I had full support. I lost on him too. But the Ariel Hawani and everybody's saying is like the biggest robbery ever. I thought Jared won, but he like the honestly all the most of the round, the first round Jared won. The fight was overall close. And I did say early on, I think it was after I lost on Kibas and the Zumagulov fight against Chef Molina, that I was like, hey, I don't know what's going on with the judging this year. There's something weird happening, like they're judging it differently, or something's going on. And it kind of carried on the whole year. And I think, a lot of people have seen it. I think I saw a stat that like normally like split decisions, like they were like 20% is normal. This year it's like a little bit over like 25%, like 26%. Um, so I mean, the biggest thing that I saw from the Patty fight was it going into the third round. The live line was pick 'em. So how could it be the worst robbery of all time when going into the last round the line was pick 'em? It's just like you reference the live line very often, right? You were going on and on about the Danny Sabatello versus Stotts fight and how this and that, but no mention of how the line was pick 'em and and all. So what I know you have very strong feelings about it, but you cannot say that Jared Gordon clearly won round 2 or 3. He just did not.
No,
There's
I
no
think he
way.
clearly won the third, man. I don't know. I mean,
Clearly,
clearly, yeah. I mean, I summarized the round as
you also thought that Hebos clearly lost like every round to what's her name,
no. That was a sarcastic. That
Caitlin
was a
Chukigi.
sarcastic take. I don't care about that.
Right, but I feel like it was kind of a similar fight.
No. I mean, like honestly, of that fight, I mean, Hebos probably won that shit. I mean, I just bet Chukagian, so I acted like she won easily. But anyway, I mean, the round three, it basically was Gordon cage pushing and controlling him for 4 minutes, and then Patty hits a little reversal in the last 30 seconds and controls him for 30 seconds, and it's just a late round bias. I mean, actually, that's not even really what won him the round because technically he lost that round. I mean, you can say what you want. It was a close fight, but you just said the first thing you said is that Jared won round one, which almost nobody
Very clearly won round one. Yeah, he
clearly, which
clearly
almost
won round
nobody in
one.
the
Yeah,
world
yeah.
disagrees with, except for two out of the three judges who somehow had that round for him, which just doesn't make any sense because Gordon was
What I
winning
will
the round.
say is, no, go ahead, go ahead. I don't want to
Gordon
cut
was
you off. Go
winning
ahead.
round one, right? But outboxing him, left hook couldn't miss the whole round, snapping Patty's head back, and you're saying, okay, he's up this round, but the takedown and well, it was actually Patty who shot the takedown. Jared hit the wizard,
He
reversed,
put him on
ended
his
on
back.
top.
Yeah.
You're like thinking, without a doubt, Gordon won the round, but somehow the judges didn't think so, and I mean, like when you factor that in, the fact that the round that almost everyone, the most clearly universally agreed upon round of the fight was round one for Gordon, the judges still got it wrong. That's what makes it, I think, a robbery. Is that 90-95% of the community is thinking round one Gordon, and somehow two of the people that matter are having it for Patty.
Yeah, I mean, obviously though, the hate for Patty definitely contributed a massive amount in backlash of the whole fight.
Yeah,
without a
yeah,
doubt.
for sure. Yeah, but also his reception to the decision is what is
But the thing is, though, if you're in that fight, you see, that's the one thing that I was like, obviously, I would have, if it was me, I would have been like, hey, man, yeah, the fight was close. No, when you're in there, sometimes, like, if you're hitting the guy, he's hitting you, and you feel like when you're hitting him, it's just like takes more of an effect. And know, these guys don't think that rationally overall. So I don't really care. Like, I would have rather him being like, yeah, it was a close fight. Honestly, I'd be down for them to rematch, dude, for sure. Like, yo, Jared,
UFC ain't letting that happen.
bro, I don't know. Patty could definitely be Jared because Jared did not fight a
It's
good
gonna be
fight
for
against
I
Patty.
thought he fought pretty well. I mean, I thought he fought very well, honestly.
His wrestling looked ass. Like, his wrestling was
But he still
trash in that fight. The fact he couldn't take down Patty
he did.
is crazy to me.
He took him down a few times.
And solidify, bro. I mean, I just thought that he was gonna be like a much better grappler and wrestler in terms of like course of the fight. And that third round was just pathetic. I was just
he did enough in the third. I mean, like I said,
I agree with you. I'm just saying the way that he was like in on those double legs and couldn't get like. I was like, Jared, what the hell are you like? What are you doing? Like, I feel like that. Another thing too is like the judges start like they maybe not deducting, but like they won't give you the lean if like you continuously go into ineffective positions. Like,
No, I don't even
just
think
don't.
you can generalize it like this because the judges are all so inconsistent. Some judges themselves have no consistency. Like they'll score fights with similar dynamics, opposites, and then other judges score completely opposite. I mean, you can't. I mean, there's almost no point in even saying that because
Look, I thought Jared won. Definitely felt that it was a close fight. Like, I was expecting.
I don't think it was
I
close.
honestly didn't think that the media. I didn't think that the media that everybody would have had it. Like, I have like another group, like some people, if they were like, yo, like I could see it being 2-0 either way or 1-1.
Yeah,
So I
but
was.
2-0 Patty is wrong. I mean, he did not win the first.
I
If
agree.
you think if
He
you
was
think
thrown.
Patty won round one, you don't know what you're talking about, right?
That was I felt super confident that, but that was another thing. I was looking at the live number and I was thinking when it was pick'em, I'm like, well, Jared definitely won round one, and I feel like he should have a big edge in round three. But then I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna add into that, dude. Losing on Morono and Jared back to back that's not it.
Rough.
That was definitely. I was like, come on, like the Morono was an amazing bet. That was a great bet. So good. He looked so
Plus
good in
EV
that fight.
losers. That's enough about last week though.
Looks so good in that fight. I love Alex Morono. He's gonna be a freaking. Gonna have like 50 fights in the UFC, dude. By that time he's done,
that's
40
cute.
fights.
You're his first fan
It's like
in history.
oh, dude, that guy's a solid fighter. He got his win bonus too. I hope Jared did as well, but they probably didn't do that.
All right. This card, 14 fights, first fight, bantamweight division, Sergey Morozov, Journey Newsom, Morozov, minus 282, Newsom, plus 242. I think the line's pretty accurate. I think Morozov wins, probably covers. I mean, he can just mix it up. He should really have the edge on the feet by a thin margin, and he should have a big wrestling upside here. He doesn't really look for finishes, though, on the mat, so I would be looking to play this fight, probably going longer of some sort. I mean, Morozov KO is the only way I see the fight finishing, and even that I don't think is super high. So I think it'll be a Morozov decision, 30-27. What about you?
Yeah, so I thought about this fight a bit. I mean, Journey Newsom, I don't think he's the worst, bantamweight on the roster. He's kind of competent in a number of areas. I think he's a jiu-jitsu black belt, has kind of some of that karate stuff going on. Keeps range okay. So I feel like Morozov, he get back at that fight against Douglas Silva, the Andrade. I don't think that he actually was as close to the finish as a lot of people did think in that fight. So I feel like these guys could be at range a little bit. Morozov cage push, looks for a takedown at some point in these rounds. But I like this fight to go the distance or go over. I think Newsom on the ground can stay safe. He's been pretty solid on the mat, and if you kind of just look at the props and stuff like that, it's not like it's leaning too much. I mean, Morozov inside the distance is plus 200, but I'm not really sure how accurate that is, just because like I feel like it would be more like if you can't finish Khalid Taha easily, I don't think Newsom I think is going to be pretty solid to stick around. So thinking about over or goes distance, I think I probably lean to goes distance, taking a little bit of more of that juice out and, starting off the night with, hoping the first fight goes to decision. So that'll be on my betting card, goes distance in the first fight. But, you know, I wouldn't leave this. I wouldn't parlay, Morozov though. I feel like, he could slip up sometimes. Maybe if he grapples a little bit too much. So, just goes the distance in the first fight.
All right, it's going to move us along. Next fight, flyweight division, David Dvorak-Kape. And the line for this one has Kape minus 250, Dvorak plus 210. What are you thinking about this one?
Love this flyweight fight. Didn't kind of see this one coming. Kape has now been out for a year now. He's had, I think, 2 or 3 fights set up. I think he got popped for like some steroid, whatever violation, but then they took it away. One of my favorite bets that didn't come to fruition this year was him against Sumidarji. Like I absolutely hammered it at like minus 150 or 60. That was going to be such an easy winner. Here against Dvorak, though, I mean, I think the line's a little bit too juiced. I am talking to some of my guys who kind of feel good about the under and about Dvorak getting knocked out here, just because once Kape does get going, he is very dangerous overall. But like I said, 1 year layoff. You've seen it in a few of his fights. He just drops rounds. He gets started a little slower. Obviously he did exchange a lot of shots with Zumagulov, but that was because Zumagulov was kind of standing in staying in the pocket and exchanging with him. Where I think Dvorak's going to circle around a little bit, maybe mix in the clinch a bit. So I think I'm just going to pass on this fight overall. I don't have a solid read on it, but I do think Dvorak, this line, Dvorak, I feel at flyweight, I have him rated a little bit higher than this, line indicates. I had Nicolau against him, but he did close as a favorite against Nicolau. Although Nicolau did look good in those last 2 rounds, especially. But now that he's plus 210 against Kape, I feel like there's worse places to put your money than Dvorak at 210. But some of my guys are very confident in the Kape side, so I'm just gonna stay away from it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Ozzy's look on the fight. I mean, Dvorak is a smart fighter. He actually game plans very well. But
Very well.
so he's gonna be circling around the cage. He's gonna be mixing in the takedowns maybe. But I mean, Kape is getting a good amount better. You can watch his rise in fights from just a few years ago, and you can see clear improvements. He's much harder to take down and control now than he was just 5 fights ago. So I don't think I'm too concerned about the layoff. He was supposed to have that one fight against Sue, but it got canceled. So I think Manel is probably going to be fine, and his career is still going to be going upwards. It's just a tough matchup for Dvorak because Kape, he hits a lot harder. He's more explosive. He has those big flying knees and big moments that just steal him rounds at times, and that could happen here. Dvorak could be fighting a good round, sticking and moving, and then Kape steals it with some big moments. So. I think Kape being the favorite is right. Maybe, minus 190, 65% instead of 70% is accurate. So there is value on Dvorak. And the line's not out yet, but this decision only line when it comes out on DraftKings will be a good one. Look out for that one if you have DK. And that's going to move us along to. Go ahead.
Not 93 kid versus 92 kid. So advantage Kape. So that might be why he's more juiced here. So. Something to consider for sure.
Yeah, and if this goes to decision, Manel Kape has never won a decision, if I'm correct. So if it goes to,
he's 1-4 in this. 1-4.
Oh, really?
He's 1-1.
Interesting.
Okay.
Well, still, if it
but 1-4 is awful.
If it goes
so
to
bad.
the decision, it might be checkmate for David Dvorak. So welterweight fight next. Brian Battle taking on Fakhretdinov. Line for this one: Fakhretdinov minus 145. Battle plus 125. I think Fakhretdinov should do his thing here, get the takedowns, lay and pray, probably win via decision. I could see him hurting Battle on the feet because we really haven't seen Battle tested at all at 170 yet. And Battle is just a guy who fights, really close. He's going to have close exchanges back and forth. He's got good cardio. He's got, pretty good resistance in the cage. He knows how to battle back when he's losing fights. So he's going to win a lot of fights and stick around. I just think that he's always going to be a guy who is fighting close and isn't going to have a whole lot of upside. While here, Renat hitting those takedowns, he could look like a big favorite. So I think Renat should be pretty good here. I like Battle though. I wouldn't be it wouldn't be the worst thing for him to win this fight, but he is taking it on short notice. It's a pretty bad stylistic matchup for him. Brian Battle just a few fights ago was getting taken down and controlled by Gilbert Urbina, who is nowhere near UFC level. So I'll take Renat to grapple to a decision.
I love this fight. This is a pretty interesting fight. I mean, usually with these tough, I mean, I haven't been keeping track, but usually the track is not fight dudes like Hinat, is having them fight bums like But this is definitely a tough fight, man. Like Hinat freaking killed nicely in that fight, in that looking whatever they call that. What was that? What was that called? Looking for? It's not looking for a fight, is it? Yeah, looking for a fight. Um, the guy is decent stand up. I think he's got. I don't think his stand up is the worst, but an absolute grinder. Really gets you against the fence. So I mean, I think it's gonna be a competitive fight. I felt like the early number on Hinat was solid because just the stylistic, the stylistic challenges that he does bring. I think is difficult for Battle, but Battle, he fought a few grapplers, right? He fought Petrovsky, but I mean, he did get taken down by even Trishan Gore, I think in the second round. If I remember
Yeah,
correctly, of their fight. Yeah, he got taken down there. He seems confident in his submission grappling. We did have someone tell us that he is a very good submission grappler, right? Your boy. I hope his knee's feeling better. Um, so we did have that happen. But I still like Hinat here, but I also kind of like the over because Battle seems kind of tough to finish. I don't think he's a quitter there as well. And Fakhretdinov I think could take the foot off the gas a bit. He is a big 170. I think this is going to be his second 170 fight. And Battle does have pretty good cardio, so I feel like he could come out strong. Maybe not push for the finish later on in the fight as well, and then this goes to decision. So another fight that I kind of like to go the distance. Do you have an opinion on that on a finish versus a decision
I
here?
think the price on GTD is way better.
I'm gonna have a ticket on. I have a little bit on the money line for Hinat, but I'm gonna take this decision line. If it stays at this 200 number, I feel him by decision. You usually don't get guys with this kind of style by decision, especially against. I feel Battle is kind of like a neutralizer. He's kind of like he's not Darren Elkins. Don't get me wrong, but kind of like a guy that he'll take what you're giving him and then kind of try to no pun intended, battle back and chip away. So I kind of like Hinat here by decision,
Yep,
laying the juice at this number.
I agree. And then the next fight's going to be in the lightweight division. We got Maheshate taking on Rafa-Garcia. I feel like Maheshate could be a Hispanic nickname of some sort, but
Yeah, I still want to know what the hell that means. What does Maheshate mean?
we
Like,
gotta
it has to have
we gotta
something.
get to the bottom of it. Rafa-Garcia minus 136, Maheshate plus 116. Your turn to start this one off. What are you thinking here?
Cool fight. I mean, you right off the bat, I don't think Maheshate is good. He's training over at what's it called, Kill Cliff. I think he's messing with the Chinese guys, Shadalan and what's the other guy? Lee. I just don't think this guy's good. When I see him striking, he's got a little bit of power, but that's is bad. He kind of leaves his chin out there. When he's kind of exchanging, I feel like, the defensive tendencies that I would expect from a good striker, I don't see them with him. So, I mean, I took a little Hoffa, at minus 115. I think he's the right side here. I mean, the guy is always training. He trains the elevation as well. He's a pretty solid wrestler. I think on the ground, he's much better than Maheshate. And I just feel like he's not going to be there to be hit. Like, in the fight against Close, I feel Close is just kind of like stocky, and that's just a bad matchup for him, or a much tougher matchup for him than here. So I just think he's going to take Maheshate down, even if they're striking. Like, I feel in the later rounds, after he maybe takes some wind out of the sails of Maheshate, I feel like he could probably leg kick this tall ass dude, but it's going to be easy for him to get on this guy's legs, I feel. So I like Hoffa Garcia here. Probably not that much value left on him. But I am considering if I want to bet on him to win by decision here, or if he's gonna submit him. But I feel like I'm not sure, so I might just leave it alone, not take any props. But I feel like Hoffa's gonna beat this guy.
Yeah, I think that another decision only here on Garcia is going to be really good. I feel like this one's going to be fairly juiced, because the decision lines actually, it's only plus 165 versus 35 for Maheshate. So there's a chance we might get a playable line on Garcia by decision only. Because I feel like if it's going the full 15 minutes, that likely means that Garcia is getting a good amount of wrestling going. And what you were just saying about sub, I'm pretty sure sub is fairly unlikely here for Garcia. Because Maheshate, he scrambled a bit. He defended all right in his one loss versus the Russian guy. The Russian guy is, 4-1 since then. He just looks like a good grappler, a typical Russian guy who, knows how to control the wrist and drag guys back to the ground. And he fought that guy really early in his career, and he hasn't fought any grappler since then. So I think like Maheshate's grappling is a pretty huge question mark here because we've only really seen it in one fight. It might be, it might remain very bad as we saw in that fight, or that might be an outlier, and that guy might be actually really good at out grappling guys. So I think the size difference though is going to make it hard for Garcia to establish a lot of positions here. Like if he takes Maheshate down, I see Maheshate just putting his hands on the mat, standing back up, and getting back up to his feet, going to the cage. Just Garcia is probably going to grind his way out to a decision victory here. If he loses, he's probably going to get knocked out on the feet. He does have a blockhead, does have to know how to take a lot of damage in the cage, but I just can't see him sticking around for 15 minutes if Maheshate is outboxing him. So
Maheshate fucking sucks, bro. The fuck, he's not knocking this guy out, bro. That dude fucking sucks.
Dude. I mean, the face-offs is going to be
good,
like,
bro. He boxes Achilles. This dude Achilles, that guy sucks too. And he couldn't hurt. Did he even hurt that guy on the feet?
I don't think so. No.
Just slugging.
I think round two, he might have.
I'm gonna plan. That's what I'm planning. I'm planning my flag on Maheshate sucks. So
yeah,
I think Hoff Garcia is gonna beat him easily. I don't think it's gonna. I think it's gonna be easy.
I don't know. I don't think he sucks. Because I mean
he landed less than 30% of his shots. Fight against that was a robbery. That guy beat him.
No, he didn't. No,
Achilles.
He lost. He won round one and then lost the last two rounds. I think the third round nothing really happened though, so it's possible. But that's enough about that one.
Maheshate's not good.
Amazing fight here. Saeed versus Saeed, bantamweight division. Nurmagomedov versus Kakhramonov. Near pick'em line here. Kakhramonov kind of pushing to the favorite now, minus 116. Nurmagomedov minus 104. I took some Kakhramonov plus 100. This guy in his last fight, I just had a realization. I bet Ronnie Lawrence against this guy, and I said, man, not only did I make an awful bet on Ronnie Lawrence, but I don't want to be betting against this guy anytime soon. Because Saeed Yakub he's like a phenom, honestly. This guy, his strength just looks crazy. Like the way he was able to just easily get that body lock and rip Hani Lawrence to the ground, and he out wrestled Hani and made it look like the guy didn't know how to wrestle or grapple at all, when that's really Ronnie's strong suit. So I mean, that was a really eye-opening victory. I think this guy's just going to continue to level up. I mean, he's making his presence known on Twitter. Guys, buy trilingual or some shit. I think he's just gonna, keep ascending, and don't really have any eloquent analysis for this one, except for I think Kakhramonov is just built different here. He's probably going to take Saeed down. Saeed's just a guy who he's going to have flashy finishes on guys, but I think if the fight gets extended and it's actually like a 15-minute fight, he's going to start to, fall apart a little bit and, look kind of sloppy with all those spinning attacks. He just goes to the spinning attacks way too often, and I think he can be taken down off of them. And I don't even think his striking process on the feet outside of those spinning attacks isn't even that good. So give me Kakhramonov to bulldoze his way to a decision here.
Very, very interesting fight here. And a few of the things you said, obviously I have the same feelings. I mean, Saeed is a guy I have not liked overall in his UFC career. Kakhramonov though, I will say, the Hani Lawrence one, the win is a little weird just because Hani Lawrence said, okay, I have the staff, whatever, antibiotics, blah 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 blah. Saeed Yakub or Kakhramonov said that keeping him down because he felt like how weak he felt, like like immediately, like early on. So anything to do with like the condition, Ronnie Lawrence was in, but whatever, I don't give a shit. Because Saeed, I just think he's got back cardio, which is terrible to have at the 135 division. Like you said, I mean, his game, what very well positioned because he's got a great left kick, right? He almost kicked Douglas in the head multiple times, including in like the last like 5 seconds. He's got a great left kick, and then he, with that, he kind of comes back with the spinning back kick as well. And then he's got the spinning back fist, coming from like the other direction. But that's really all he does, right? He kind of switches his stance back and forth. So he'll do a rear left kick and then a lead left kick and all this stuff. But his hands, I feel, are kind of trash. His submission grappling, although he did choke out Cody Stamann, Cody, sometimes his submission grappling, I don't think it's at the level of Kakhramonov's. And I just feel like Kakhramonov, he's going to be, coming in tight on him, landing a lot of these shots, in close with his hands. And then when I think if they get in close, I think he's going to be able to take him down, kind of not easily, but I just feel if they're exchanging grappling, which I feel Saeed will willingly exchange grappling positions with him, I feel like Kakhramonov is gonna control those eventually. Maybe early on it's a little bit hard for him to track him down, but I just don't think that Saeed is gonna like the kind of fight that's coming to him. He kind of gassed against Douglas, I felt, and yeah, I just don't like the guy overall as a fighter. So I've been waiting though because at Pick'em I felt like maybe people would bet Saeed a little bit. I'm gonna move in eventually on Saeed Yakub and take him, here. What do you think about this fight going the distance though?
It should.
Right?
Man, we're just picking
I feel like
all overs here.
yeah, but I feel like Saeed. I don't think he's easy to finish. So
No.
like I might have a little bit of on. I might split it between money line on Kakhramonov and some of this decision line as well.
Next fight is in the middleweight division. Julian Marquez, Deron Winn. Marquez minus 174, Winn plus 149. I mean, it's amazing that these two fuckers are fighting in the UFC still, but what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so they fought on the same Austin card and both got brutally finished. I mean, obviously Deron Winn, the worst beating that he took. Insane that he's gonna retire off of that, honestly. Especially with what was going on after with Phil Hawes talking shit, Daniel Cormier, yada yada. But man, I really want to fade Deron Winn again, but I just can't do it with Julian Marquez. Like he's just like a mad fighter. He's associated with James Krause as well, so you never know what's going on there. Either Deron Winn, he does have the best attribute in this fight, and with obviously the wrestling, but his
I
cardio
thought you were
just
gonna say
doesn't
the
look
height.
that great. Yeah, the height, but his cardio just doesn't look great to me. I mean, fucking Marquez round 3 is. I mean, they think that they line this fight as Marquez is definitely finishing him. Like even if it goes to decision, like we still win that as well. Just because, I mean, they're obviously not scoring control, right? Hugging, right? If fucking Douglas Crosby or whoever it is judging. So even if Deron Winn is just hugging him like he was doing against I think Arroyo is right. He beat Arroyo by decision,
Yeah.
right? Or who?
Yeah.
Yeah, if he's just doing that against the fence, like or like has him sitting down, like are they gonna score that for him? I don't know. So I mean, I can't bet on Deron Winn, no way. So it's definitely Marquez or pass, but I'm just passing on this fight.
Yeah, I mean, passing is the only option. This fight is awful. These guys both are terrible. I guess Marquez will win just by being, a little more opportunistic. This guy always like loses and then finds a way to turn it around and finish it. I'll give him credit for that. He does seem pretty good at that. Win, not so much. Not really much of a guy who's known for his comeback. So I guess I'll go Marquez. Um,
Fight sucks. This is the worst fight.
Worst fight in history. Next fight, welterweight division. Jake Matthews, Matt-Semelsberger. Odds for this one: Matthews is the favorite, minus 263. Semelsberger plus 223. Kind of think the line's accurate here. No real strong thoughts. I think Matthews will win. it's just a matter of ITD versus decision. Some of his fights, he's really aggressive, looking for finishes, throwing haymakers. Some fights, he's extremely passive and laying and praying. His last fight, he was going at Filio, throwing, massive punches, knocking him out. Looked terrific there. It's just a matter of, is he going to keep that up, keep that aggression up and look for more finishes, or is he going to go back to his old passive ways? You do never know. With Jake Matthews, a little bit of a head case, but one of Kake's good friends, the only guy that Kakabe believes in from Australia. So that's something to consider here. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, there's no way I trust Jake Matthews, especially off of beating down on Fiallo. Like who cares that he beat that dude down? Like I feel like the biggest thing here is that Semelsberger just looks so shitty on the ground versus AJ Fletcher. To think that Matthews could be able to like win easily on the ground if he does shoot takedowns, but I'm not sure if he's shooting takedowns like he did against Neil Meek back in the day. I think he took down Diego Sanchez a bunch of times. Really sure about this guy's overall wrestling. Like I've never really been that impressed with his grappling or his wrestling. These guys are just boxing or on the feet. I feel like Semelsberger is very live. Tips like Jake Matthews is, dude, he's not that good on the feet. Like he showed one time that he was kind of willing to sit down on shots and stuff like that. But I just don't trust this guy. So, people might parlay him and do all those things, but I don't know. I mean, obviously, Semelsberger has not good. He does not have good defense on the feet. So, even though I was thinking about this goes distance or over again, yet another one, I just, dude, Jake Matthews inside the distance plus 165. I feel like that's crazy.
It's
Like,
a shit line. Yeah.
there's no way I would want to bet that. Like, that's insane. But they do have him by submission price low. And like I said, Semelsberger looked really bad on the ground against Fletcher. So the dog shot, but I mean, if they stay on the feet, I feel this is a pretty close fight.
Yeah.
It will be.
I don't think it'll be a blowout. Yeah. But this is a fight where, honestly, looking at the lines, props top to bottom, I don't see a single line that is like interesting enough to bet. So next fight, women's fight, Cheyenne Vlismas, aka Cheyenne Delizzi, taking on Corey McKenna. Odds for this one, Cheyenne minus 190, McKenna plus 165. Seems like a pretty binary matchup to me, Ozzy. What are you thinking here? The striker or the grappler is going to win this one?
Yeah, so I mean, I prefer Cheyenne overall to win this fight. Obviously, she's a favorite, so not crazy, crazy take there. Just the fact that Corey McKenna out grappled like two of the worst girls on the roster in Elise Reed and Major, like literally tell me nothing about her at all. And she lost the Elise
Yeah,
Reed
she didn't
fight,
even
which
out
is
grapple her.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, she couldn't even like finish that fight at all and stuff. And Miranda Granger, like the fact that Miranda Granger was fighting at 115 or whatever it was crazy. Obviously, was so weak in that fight. So I mean, I don't think Cheyenne's that bad of a grab. That's like, look, I was shocked when she was getting headlocked by what's her name, Ruiz. So I kind of think that she will win this fight. I'm considering her by decision here because although she does have some good strikes, right? She kicked my girl GDP in the face pretty hard. I just feel like she kind of is going to be a little bit hesitant. She doesn't want to let this girl get in on her hips. So I feel it should go over. I kind of like Cheyenne, but I wouldn't lay the juice because I don't do that on women's fights. So I'm gonna just pass because I can't get. I mean, DK has a plus 105 her by decision, but I'm gonna just pass. Like fuck that. Like I'm gonna just enjoy the fight if I can. If they, have like,
If they allow you to,
so,
yeah.
if they allow me to. So
I mean,
not that many thoughts.
as I said in the intro, I mean, it's striker versus grappler here. If McKenna doesn't get this fight to the floor, she's pretty fucked. So I kind of understand why she's the dog here. It definitely makes sense, but I still think that there's a good chance that she can get this fight to the floor. I just don't understand how anybody could be comfortable betting Cheyenne as a favorite at this price. I know some people out there got maybe minus 130, which I think is good. I think minus 150 for her here probably makes more sense than 190. But like Ozzy mentioned, the Ruiz fight. I mean, basic head and arm throws, terrible takedowns that shouldn't work, holding her in that scarf hold position. I mean, I don't know many blue belts out there that don't know how to escape that scarf hold position right away. I mean, it's an extremely basic Gracie 101, Jiu-Jitsu 101 position. Like the soccer moms at the jiu-jitsu schools are learning how to escape that position all day. So the fact she couldn't do that and lost that fight was just insane and embarrassing. And I think that you got to be really weary of her, going forward. I mean, I know
You've been training with Holman though. You see Holman's grappling. That shit is legit.
yeah, and that guy has fucking mythical powers, as we are all, realizing after losing countless wagers betting against Dolidze. I know she might. This is gonna be a fight where she's like losing like the first like 13 minutes, and then she ends up like triangling McKenna from bottom. Just with the power of Dolidze. Actually, it really depends. If Dolidze's in the corner for this fight, you might as well just go all in on Cheyenne. So maybe look out for that. That's really the real analysis here.
Oh, they love Cheyenne in the UFC, bro. So I feel like there might be some not home cooking, but want her to like they matched her up here to get a win. Like a conspiracy theorist and all this shit, but her and Mallory Martin got a fucking the night bonus, bro. You know they're looking out for Cheyenne.
Well, I understand I understand Martin because she's really really bad, but I don't know. I mean, McKenna at least she has a fairly clear idea of like what to do consistently. Like she wants to get the fight to the floor. She'll shoot takedowns. I actually think McKenna by sub at 11-1 isn't that bad. If the fight gets to the floor, we know that Cheyenne is pretty clueless on how to escape bad positions. So, sub 11-1, not bad for a girl who's gonna grapple. So the next fight takes place, first fight on the main card. Wow, I can't believe this made the main card. Middleweight division, Cody Brundage, Maheshate-Garcia. McCall, the favorite, minus 275. Brundage, plus 235. Actually, maybe I take that back. I know why they put McCall as the first fight, because McCall just fucking comes out the gate firing. This dude, he just is a constant pressure fighter. He throws hands. He has power. He digs to the body. He's a good boxer. He's not really a great grappler. He's not great in late in fights, and he is a tad unproven at this 185 weight class. But I think just the pressure, the boxing is probably going to make Cody Brundage extremely uncomfortable, and he's probably going to get outboxed and probably knocked out here pretty early on. I bet on Brundage in his last fight. I have no problem admitting it was a bad bet. It was a bad bet that miraculously won. Some people don't like saying that these days. Some people really don't like saying that these days. Bad bet. It was a miracle that it won, and it's probably the end of the Cody Brundage ass pull finish run here, because McCall is probably going to pound his face in. So it seems like a matter of under or over 1.5 is the main question in this fight. What are you thinking about that, Ozzy?
Brundage sucks. I don't think this guy's good. Like he doesn't do anything well, in my opinion. Every one of his fights, if you look at him, like he got bet against, he never looks value. Even in his LFA fight, never. I think his cardio is bad. And I feel like McCall, I'll go back to my old adage, he hits people and they fucking go down. You saw that Ganzantov dude. That dude looked stacked, looked strong, looked, aggressive. Man, that guy really wanted that fight to end. He really wanted that fight to end. And he just quit, dude. He got hit with not a clean uppercut. Just went down. He was like, I quit. I'm done. I feel like Cody Brundage is going to do the same thing. Obviously he came out, shot a takedown right away on Trishan Gore. Not keep him down. They could not put in hooks. I just don't feel his grappling is all that good. Jimmy Crute had to, mat return Mikhail numerous times there. And, obviously Mikhail's not good on the ground. So if he's getting taken down consistently, it's probably bad for him. I just feel that Cody Brundage is not going to be able to keep up with the pace. Maybe he could land a big shot. Obviously, right? He knocked out Trishan. But I feel like he's going to be flinching. He's going to be, he's just going to get knocked out, I feel. So I don't think Mikhail by knockout minus 120 is bad, because I just see no way that he lasts 15 minutes with Mikhail. It's just not happening. So I'm gonna bet him by knockout. I don't give a fuck.
I like it. I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell we. There's minus
I,
105 out there though on
yeah,
DK.
I don't give a shit, dude. He's not lasting. Like if I lose, it's like all right, cool, whatever. Like if Macau wins by decision, I'll be shocked, bro. I'll be absolutely shocked. So I just feel like Macau's gonna hit this guy enough times to put him down. Not gonna get taken down consistently, and he huffing and puffing in these fights. Cody Brundage, and he's in on short notice. I know, obviously, he fought fight that long ago, and I think he had a fight get canceled as well. I don't really remember. I just feel Macau's gonna knock his ass out. So
I think
I
I
like
think the
Macau.
last fight I was betting a McCall KO over Alve, and you were like, you know what? Let's do it. And I'm pretty sure we were like losing early on
Mhm.
that card, and I remember just doubling down on that, and it looked like the easiest bet of the century. Poor Sam Alvey, man.
He's knocking out Cody Brundage, bro. And Cody was scheduled against Adolfo. So, and if you think about the line, like Macau was even favored over Durayev, who's way better than Cody Brundage.
Yeah,
So I don't think that line is that wrong, honestly, because Brundage sucks,
yeah,
man.
it's
He's not
not
good.
the money line's probably right. Next fight of the century, greatest fight, possibly ever. Lightweight division, Drew Dober, Bobby Green, just two absolute studs. The line here, Dober minus 150, Green plus 130. You can talk about this one first.
This fight, I wish they put it on the pay per view last week. I don't know why they didn't. I don't know, with Sean and Mick, obviously, they're mailing it in at the end of the year. But cool fight, winner. Honestly, if Michael Chandler doesn't get the what's it called, the counter fight, winner should fight Chandler. Good step back. Winner should fight Chandler. So I was leaning overall Drew Dober this week just because I feel like the power advantage and the fact that the kicks also that Dober brings to the table. I feel Bobby Green has fought a few guys like Nasrat and Albazi-Costa and freaking. I mean, you saw when Fiziev was throwing those kicks. I'm not saying it gave him a hard time, but it definitely, I feel like, is uh, gives him something more to think about with kind of the defense that he puts out there. But the more I kind of thought about it this week, I kind of am gonna lean over to the over just because I don't think Drew Dober can be knocked out, especially not by a guy like Bobby Green. And I feel like I could see this fight being a little bit close. Drew Dober does have good cardio, but I could see maybe the judges like liking some of the stuff that Bobby Green does, maybe making it 1-1, a close fight. I just don't really think Drew Dober is gonna hit Bobby Green clean enough. Bobby Green, he doesn't go that he's not that crazy aggressive early on. He does pick it up later in the fights. But Drew Dober also is kind of patient, even with he has fights against like Rafael Alves, who's doing a bunch of stuff, and in there, I feel like he doesn't get that over his skis and kind of throwing shots. So I'm gonna bet the over. I might bet a little bit of Dober by decision, or Dober money line, just to have a rooting interest because I do lean Dober. But I like the goes distance in this fight because two tough guys, well schooled, well seasoned, good defense. Well, Dober doesn't have great defense, but his chin is insane. So with that,
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Ozzy's saying, but I'm gonna try not to bet on this fight just because these guys are like I was saying, absolute studs. Some of like the most beloved guys in like all of MMA. I feel like I don't know anybody that dislikes either of these guys, and if you do, honestly, you might have some internal issues you need to work on, but um, I just think it's going to be an amazing fight. I think that Dober, being the guy who kind of pressures more and lands the bigger shots consistently might be the thing that gets him this decision. Bobby Green, though, is very comfortable fighting southpaws. And he's going to be landing his own shots here. He just doesn't land with the same type of impact and tenacity that Drew Dober does, because he's moving backwards a lot. He's darting in and out. Drew Dober really plants his feet. He moves forward and he lands big punches. So I think that's probably what gives Dober the slight advantage here. The durability, as well as Ozzy was saying, Dober might get wobbled a little bit, but this guy's chin is granite. McKinney tried to use the powers that be to knock him out and almost did in the first 60 to 90 seconds of that fight, but Drew Dober still recovered from that and beat that ass later that round. So I just feel Dober at this point more durable, and more impact behind his punches is probably going to win him this fight. But it also wouldn't shock me if Bobby Green uses that finesse and just lands some more volume, and maybe lands 1.5 strikes to every one of Dober's, and that edges him this decision here. So it's going to be an amazing fight. I see it being a close decision for either guy. I wouldn't get too invested on either side here, and this is just a great matchmaking by the UFC. But like Ozzy should have said, should have been on the pay-per-view, man. These guys deserve that spotlight, and maybe even main event, honestly. So next fight, featherweight division, another fight with two studs, two well-liked guys. Two guys that are 5-1 in the UFC in their past 6 fights. Julian-Erosa taking on Alex Caceres. Erosa -163, Caceres +143. So I just like both these guys a lot, and nice to see them succeed. They've always been kind of journeymen, middle of the road type fighters, but 5-1 in their past 6 in the UFC. They're really coming into their own, winning fights, and looking just like better fighters. Finally, some guys who are. They had weaknesses throughout their entire career, but they're actually putting together really, solid wins these past few fights. I kind of think the line is right. I think that Erosa is the better striker of the two. I think this fight is bound to go in the clinch a lot. It's going to be in the small cage. Both these guys like clinching. Caceres likes the clinch to grapple. Erosa, he'll do both. He'll strike from the clinch or he'll grapple. But I just see this fight playing out with a lot of time against the fence, grind and trade in positions back and forth. And it'll be a very high tempo fight. These guys are going to be in each other's faces the entire time. But I still think it is going to go over 2.5, make it to the decision. And it'll be a fight that I could think is going to be determined on hustle. I think Erosa does hustle better in fights, but also I could see the long limbs of Caceres, the clinch positions leading to some Caceres back takes that win him the fight. I think these guys are gonna mix it up in the grappling, the clinch, the striking. It's gonna be close. I see Erosa getting his hand raised, but I don't see any value on the money lines here. I think it's pretty accurately priced. The GTD, as we've been saying all podcasts, I think is good here. It's just like Erosa's chin has to be the biggest concern, right? Sometimes he gets knocked out early, but Caceres is not a super hard puncher. We saw Caceres take a beating from Sadiq in his last fight. He's very durable and hard to finish historically. So I think unless these guys are submitting each other, they're going to make it the full 15. So if you like the ITD, the under, I would probably advise taking some of that end sub as well, which is out there at plus 330 on some books. So what are you thinking here, Ozzy?
Yeah, cool fight. I think Rosa's the better wrestler here. Bruce Leroy never really was. That's never been his strong suit, strong point. And I just feel like it's kind of interesting fight, but I do feel like you said, it's gonna go over just because Caceres, he's historically, say he's taken like is hard to finish. I think Choi did drop him, I think, and then he kind of came back on him, or it was like a headbutt, I forget. But Rosa just doesn't have that much power, even though he has a lot of finishes. His punches, just don't have crazy amount of power. It's like a lot of times knee or a head kick or something like that. Should be a great fight overall. I do lean towards the Rosa. I just think he mixes up it better. You saw, Caceres, he was getting leg kicked by Sadiq and clinch and stuff like that, and didn't have too much of a response there. I do think he has improved a lot though. Late in his career. Looked at his career. He's actually made a decent amount of money. But some of these guys, like his win streak is like Chase Hooper and Austin Springer. Like who the hell is that? Kevin Kroom, the infamous Kevin Kroom. So I just like Erosa better overall. I think his recent performances have been better. Um, and yeah, so I lean his way. I feel like if I would be interested maybe in the money line on him, just because I think it's hard for Bruce Leroy to put together a lot of against him to win this fight. And yeah, so I'll pick Erosa here and potentially bet him or maybe him by decision.
Yeah, Roast is a guy though, never an easy bet to make as a favorite. He's a great dog historically. Whenever he's a dog, it's like he's always getting underrated. But it's rare you see him as a favorite. So, um, Caceres also in that role though, usually underrated as a dog, so look out for that.
Winner should fight Billy Q. I want Billy Q versus Erosa.
That's
what I
good.
want to
Yeah,
see.
that's a good idea. Very good idea. Um, Next fight, flyweight division, Amir Albazi taking on Alessandro Costa. Costa making his UFC debut. The odds for this one, 426 favored for Albazi, plus 326 for Costa as a dog. So, you watch any footage of Costa? Do you got any opinions on him, Ozzy?
Yeah, I mean, I saw his contender fight. The fight freaking sucked. That other guy was awful. Like the fact that was like a split decision, right? I don't know. It was close. And I was like, this, like people were telling me this guy was the goods. I didn't see it. Again, people are telling me that this line is too wide in the fight. I've been very high on Amir Albazi overall. I think this guy is very, very good. I think he could compete with the top echelon of the division. I think he will do that as well. I wouldn't mind seeing him against the winner of that earlier fight, maybe against maybe Kape or Dvorak. I feel like he's just gonna be able to grind this guy out. I mean, Costa, he has some good skills, right? He's got like a black belt in jiu-jitsu and all this stuff. But I feel like Albazi, the pressure that he puts on in the grappling is a little bit different. He mixes up the ground and pound with it pretty well. He's very good friends with the Rock guys as well. And I just think that they're doing better stuff than like a guy like Costa is. I feel like Costa is like a very generic like 125 fighter, and he's really not that great at putting all his skills together. So while he is decent overall, I feel Albazi's gonna beat him. But no interest in betting the fight, honestly. I looked at the props, not really interested in anything, so I'll pass on it overall.
Yeah, I like what you said about Costa just being generic. He just seems like a generic offensive striker, right? I mean, I have seen him, sit down on some shots and knock some guys out. Obviously, his last fight was like a 5 second knockout, just completely nuked a guy. But in that Luna fight in the Contender Series, he's very reliant on those big knockdowns, those knockouts. He in between those big moments, he really doesn't do a whole lot. Doesn't have a high work rate. Doesn't throw a whole lot of strikes, and that's why you saw that Luna fight was a split decision. Just not a whole lot happened in that fight. So I think outside of a knockout, it's going to be pretty hard for him to beat out Albazi here. I just think the work rate difference between the two of them is going to make it very difficult for Costa to win a decision. And Albazi's a prospect. This guy is real good. Might be getting to the point where we can't even call him a prospect. He might be a contender real soon here because he's been racking up wins. Think he's undefeated in the UFC, right? Maybe he has one
When
loss
was
in
he born?
Brave.
When do you think he was born, Martian?
Yeah, I see. I'm seeing it. 1993.
Hmm.
I thought he was younger than that. I thought he was like 25, 27 or something. So that makes him 20.
Can't
Makes him
tell with these
29.
Middle Eastern guys, bro.
Yeah.
Can't tell. They look 40, all of them.
That's true.
35.
Yeah, they get their beards at like 9 years old. There I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Albazi shouldn't have much trouble here. Obviously not endorsing him as at minus 425, but I think he will win. His knockout price got steamed. Some people were betting it at 9-1 earlier in the week, all the way down to 4-1 now. I don't see any way to play Albazi. Honestly, I think all of his lines are about right. And if you like Costa at all, I think you should be taking the ITD at 750 because, as I mentioned, with the work rate, the decision differential here, I think the ITD is
I
the way
could
to
see
go.
him landing a big punch.
Yeah,
I could see
yeah,
Costa landing the big punch. I could see that.
yeah. I hope he does. I hope he brings
But
it.
I don't think it's
Fights the
happening.
mouthpiece, fights hard, and makes it entertaining because he's definitely outgunned here. Time for the co-main event. Another incredible matchup here. I think Dober and Green end this fight probably better choices for a main event than our actual main event. But we got the Armenian Arman Tsarukyan taking on Damir Ismagulov, the Kazakh, and we have Tsarukyan minus 184, Ismagulov plus 159. Two really quality fighters here. Interested to see how they match up. One thing I'll say about the matchmaking is that for Ismagulov, they've actually been building him at a steady pace. He's been, chugging along, getting better fighters at each and every fight, and he beat Guram last fight, and this is good for him. He's working his way up. He's fighting Tsarukyan. But for Tsarukyan, he just fought Gamrot. He, a tough opponent, and he got a little unlucky with that decision there. And now he just has to fight another, black horse type of guy, or a dark horse type of guy.
Black
uh,
horse.
Damir Ismagulov, who real fight fans, the guys in like the Caucasus area, I'm sure they're very familiar with Ismagulov, but in terms of name value and notoriety, Ismagulov definitely not up there. So Arman has a really tough test that's high risk, kind of a low reward because I feel. I don't know. This is non-fight analysis related stuff. Anyway, though, the boxing here I think
You a
favors Demir.
manager? What are you, a manager now? Who gives a shit?
No, and this is good for Demir. I'm telling you, this is good for him. The it's all about the vibes of the matchup. But Demir is I give him the better boxer. I think he's going to be landing the jab here. Arman's striking is good, but it's just very kick oriented. He has really good kicks, but I don't think that translates that well to the judges. He doesn't land a whole lot of shots to the head. He doesn't sit down on his punches. He kind of just jabs and body kicks his way on the feet. So I think when they're standing, I think that's good for Demir. I think the more direct offense, the jabs, the straight punches to the head of Demir are just going to be more favorable in the eyes of the judges here. And the grappling here, these are going to be some amazing exchanges to watch. Can't wait to see who ends up on top of these exchanges. I'll just pass it right to you with this question here, Ozzy. Well, actually, I'll let you answer, then pass it back to me. But who do you think is more likely to be initiating the offensive takedowns here?
Oh, Arman, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I think so as well. But it wouldn't totally shock me to see Ismagulov attempting his own. I think
I hope not.
really.
Hope not. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, while Tsarukyan's fresh, he probably does have the tank to stuff them. But I don't think either guy getting on top here is out of the question. I think it's just a very evenly matched fight. I see it being a 29-28 decision for one of these guys. And in a situation like that, I think it's much easier to make a bet on the dog at less than 40% than it is to lay the juice on Tsarukyan as the favorite at almost 65%. So great matchup. I hope Ismagulov pulls it off, and I think his odds are a little disrespectful where it is now. So I would be looking to play Demir by decision of some sort.
Love this fight. Obviously Arman came off a great fight last fight. But I did see obviously the grappling there was interesting, and he threw, like you said, a lot of the great kicks. Right, he's great from the left. His left kick is really good. He's got a great spinning back kick as well. I feel like his hands leave a little bit to be desired. Obviously, if you ask what's his name Yagos would disagree that his hands are not great, but he knocked him out pretty good with a left hook there. But I just feel that the hand, like the fact that he was getting touched up by what's his name Gamrot so easily, not a good look, I don't think, because Gamrot, his hands are I don't think are good. He kind of and is not as direct, and he doesn't control range as well as Demir. Demir's pretty much a master at staying right at that range outside, kind of like backing up a little bit, as you come in, and then kind of like flicking that jab out and kind of continuing to pot shot at you. And he's really good at keeping the same pace of the fight and kind of racking up activity, racking up volume. Whereas I think outside, I feel like that's not where Armin is very comfortable at all. So I really like Demir here to keep it close overall. I do think I am a little scared about the grappling of Armin, because Demir definitely has not defended takedowns from a guy like Armin. I think in his UFC, or definitely in his UFC career, but in his MMA career, not that much either. And Armin is pretty skilled with transitioning, takedowns, kind of going to the second and the third positions. But I'm not too sure how well he'll consolidate a position on a guy like Demir, who is pretty well schooled. He has pretty good takedown defense overall. And I feel like the range that he fights within is really a deterrent to guys getting in on his legs pretty very easily. So I feel like we might see Armin opt to go to the clinch on a number of occasions, which you saw that in the Islam fight, and obviously the guy's a super talented grappler overall. But I feel this is a good matchup for Demir. I feel like his strengths line up pretty well with what Armin likes to do overall. And I feel in the third round, I feel like Demir can be poking at this guy pretty heavily, and I think it's going to be pretty hard for Armin to take him down in a third round here. Demir, he's taller, he's got the height advantage, reach advantage, and I just love what he does at range here overall. So getting him at plus money, although I went against him against with Guram, but getting Demir here at plus money and plus like 220 on the decision line, I really like. So, I'm gonna have a Demir ticket. I'm gonna split them between those two just because I feel like he is definitely more weighted to winning this by decision. Armin is pretty tough. He hasn't really been hurt overall. I just hope that he doesn't come in there and with a great like crazy strength advantage. So I feel like Demir really needs to get off to a good start. I feel keep the confidence, and make Armin desperate for some of those takedowns, and then really start to link up those combinations with the straight punches. But I lean towards Demir here overall. And it's just like in these lightweight fights, like I say numerous times, most of these guys should not be that too heavily favored over each other. So I'm gonna keep staying on playing the plus money guys at the top of this lightweight division, and I feel Demir is a very very reliable fighter as well.
Yeah, because Demir won his last fight. He probably did deserve to get the decision, but even he might not have covered. He might have looked like a slight favorite, minus 130 there. But I mean, when you're fighting, two top 15 lightweights against each other, what are the chances one is actually looking minus 200 and value at that price? So, main event time. Middleweight division, Jared Cannonier, Sean Strickland. The odds to this one, Cannonier minus 105, Strickland minus 115. Near pick 'em back and forth all week. Man, I have a hard time getting too excited about this fight. I don't know about you, Ozzy, but let's hear you shine some light on this one. What are you thinking about this one?
I like the fight overall. I mean, you don't like Sean Strickland. I know that for sure. You always shit on his fights. I lean towards Sean Strickland here in this fight. I don't know if it's the best fight to bet, honestly. Obviously it's the last fight on the card, so people
Best
don't
fight of the
want action
year.
on it. Yeah, last fight of the exactly, yeah, last fight of the year. Um, People are gonna want action, but I just don't like the volume puts out there. The biggest concern is obviously the leg kicks, right? He can leg kick from both legs pretty well, right? He can switch to the southpaw stance, leg kick with either leg. Obviously, from an orthodox stance, he could do that. But I feel like the defense of Sean, sometimes the parrying of the punches is is something you don't see that often. Like he's gonna be able to defend some of these strikes that Jared puts out there, and Jared, he kind of the fact that he's gotten dropped by a lot of guys. Obviously, it's over two different weight classes, but he's a lot older. Obviously, he's definitely in great condition. But I just feel that Sean Strickland, if he isn't getting leg kicked to oblivion, should be able to jab his way to a win here, racking up the volume. Just throwing a bunch of shots. I do think that Jared's power with his hands is a little overrated, and the fact that Kelvin took a lot of his leg kicks kind of makes me a little bullish. But I will say that I did see a limp from Strickland when he got leg kicked a few times from Brendan Allen, and that was only after like 10 or 12 leg kicks. So it is a little concerning. But I do like Sean Strickland a little bit more. I do think that he might be able to maybe like time a takedown here, maybe, but you can't rely on that, obviously. So I'm not too sure about Jared's defense overall if Sean is on the front foot here. And Jared is, like I said, does not throw enough for me. But I'm not sure. I have been saying that I will bet on Sean Strickland a little bit, but I'm not trying to lay too much juice. So if it stays at minus 115, 120, I think I'll pass. But I'm trying to get an even money ticket on him, maybe a little bit of sprinkle on him by decision. But I feel like he should be able to rack up a lot of volume on Jared.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much the common consensus is it's the volume versus, the more impactful shots. But man, I feel this fight is a fight where, stats actually might be fairly relevant because these guys have just had a ton of sample size in the UFC. Man, Strickland only being 31 is confusing. That guy seems a lot. He seems more like 36. While Jared Cannonier doesn't seem 38, does he? I mean, damn. But the striking stats here, we have Strickland landing 5.5 strikes per minute, Jared Cannonier landing 3.7. Now Strickland does absorb more strikes. But the differential, he lands 1.5 more strikes than he gets hit, while the differential for Cannonier is pretty small. It's only 0.2 strikes. So I think that in a fight that it's going to be 5 rounds, it's going to be a striking fight. It's going to likely go into the later rounds and go to the decision. I think a fight with these stats, I think it's pretty relevant. And I think that backs up the consensus that Ozzy was talking about is just Strickland racking up volume, throwing more strikes, likely landing more. He targets the head, while Cannonier is, look, he mixes it up with kicks to the legs and to the body. But as I was saying earlier with some of these fights, I think that like the judges, I think the best offense is punches to the head. That's just the simplest shit to understand. Somehow the judges didn't understand when Jared Gordon was boxing Patty's head off. But traditionally, I like the guys who land the more headshots in a striker versus striker matchup, and I think that should be Strickland here. You could maybe question whether Strickland's coming back too soon from that Pereira knockout. Only been, I think, 4.5 months, and the guy just spars nonstop. He's had a long career. He's constantly sparring. He just got knocked out, and you could be questioning whether he's over the hill or his chin's done. I don't think that's a real concern. I think if anything, you should be maybe questioning Cannonier. I mean, he just got done losing his title fight. He's definitely not going to get another title fight anytime soon, and now he's 38. His chances of being a champ are over. He might be have one foot out the door. So I think this fight is going to go the full 5 rounds. I think there's value on the fight going the full 5 rounds. I think the most valuable bet is the GTD, man. They have this fight finishing at over 50%, and I don't think it's nearly that high. I think it's like way, way lower. But if you follow the podcast long term, anytime I say a GTD is off by like 10%, it always, and I tell you when I say always, it always fucking loses. Just like that Chris Curtis versus Buckley GTD in that last card.
Don't remind me.
They're sailing. Oh. They're sailing. They're sparring out there. It's looking like a minus 200 GTD, and then Buckley gets killed by a flying punch.
Can't believe Buckley did that shit, bro. That was some fucked
so
shit,
stupid.
Buckley.
And I lost.
Listen, Buckley, that was some fucked up shit, bro.
I lost on Buckley live. Buckley decision goes the distance. Man, that one hurt.
Was fucked up, Buckley.
All right, that's enough about this card. Best bet of the week time, last one of 2022. Who's going first here? Who's going first?
You go, bro. You let it rip, bro.
All right. Well, let me see. I have, man. I don't want to pick something safe. The safest bet is the GTD in the Arman and Demir fight, but I'm not picking one. I'll go with the GTD in the main event. Honestly, minus 112 on FanDuel. Give it to me. What's going to be yours?
So I was looking at a few totals here. Like I said, I like the Journey-Newson fight to go over, go the distance. I like the Dober fight as well. To go over. Like that might be. I feel like a few too many people kind of are on that, so I'm gonna swerve that with the Journey-Newson fight to go over 2.5, or no, go the distance, 95 or whatever. I don't know if that is available at whatever book you're gonna say. I'll take that, but I got a few. I mentioned a few of the money line sides that I like. I like a bunch of those, but I like that over, I think, the most at current pricing, because a few of those other ones.
Wait, which one is it?
Like
over or GTD?
Excuse me, GTD.
Okay. So we'll use a worse line for mine because it's just not available on FanDuel yet. Minus 130 for mine, and then minus 135 for yours. Comes out to plus 208. 2 fights going the distance. I think honestly it's going to be a GTD type of card. Last card, the pay-per-view had a ton of finishes, a lot of late round knockouts. I think it had 10 finishes, right, out of 12 fights. I think we're going to be looking at more like 8 to 10 decisions here, hopefully. So that'll do.
I think I'm gonna have a pretty good amount of action on this card overall.
I think I'm only gonna have a medium one. I'm only up like 6 units on the year. I gotta stay above float. What about you?
I don't even know. I didn't look from last year. Obviously, it lost. Brutal losing. I thought Buckley decision was gonna cash. I thought easy. I was like Jared easy. And it's like, how do you lose all 3? Like, that is just bad variance right there. Like,
negative variance.
Bad variance guy. But That
No,
was
no, no.
insane. Like to not hit any of those three was pretty crazy, I thought.
I just have to not lose 5.1 units, and I will be in the profit on the year.
Can't believe Ponzinibbio won that fucking fight last week.
That was a bummer. I actually live bet Ponzinibbio, so it wasn't that bad.
Could have took that motherfucker down, Morono. Take that motherfucker down.
All right, that's enough. We'll be back. Maybe we'll do like an end of the year recap podcast if Ozzy's available. The guy's schedule is packed months in advance. We had to schedule this podcast months ahead of time, so we'll see if we can maybe do that. But if not, it's been a great 2022. I will be live on Spaces probably for the card live on Saturday. Any closing thoughts here, Ozzy?
Oh, it's a good card, and hope let's get some good breaks this week as opposed to last.
That's true. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. Hope you all win some bets and enjoy the fights this weekend. We'll see you all in the year 2023. Peace out, everyone.